It's Kara from Goddess to Goodness. Hi, guys. It's Kara from Goddess to Goodness. I hope you guys can hear me all right. And I'm just going to leave this as a comment here. Okay, so welcome to. Oh, no. Okay, so welcome to my live masterclass on manifesting abundance through self love. All right. Um, and the reason this comes up is, well, I see that everybody is actually going through this healing journey, especially with what's going on in 2020, and the distractions and how we're pulled in all these different directions. And I see it in my friends and my relationships and my family. And there's been like a lot like coming up, and like, so like when I've been like talking to people. My brother suffered like a really unbelievable like health crisis recently, and then he got COVID, and so he's okay now, But when we talk, and I've been there in that position where when you go through something like that, the way you look at things changes, and things that maybe seemed really important like aren't anymore because your focus is then on like your healing and trying to get better and things like that. And so a lot of our physical healing, everything actually about our physical healing has to do with our inner healing. Okay. And that inner healing, like for me, um I have had to heal in so many areas of my life over like the last like 6 or 7 years. And we grow up with like certain programs and things that our parents or friends or school did that like causes like wounds in us, and it like rests in our subconscious, and we don't necessarily know that it's there. We think our conscious mind runs the show, and actually it's our subconscious mind. And I've seen for myself absolutely in my own life and how when I have a feeling of being not abundant, whether that's in my self confidence or the way I look about myself, the way I physically look. Maybe there were times it was my health, there were times that it was my financial situation, or, just being able to like move and grow and flow in life. And there was a time in my life when literally it was like I literally felt blocked in every area of my life. Like I can't even explain it. And I'll tell you guys a little bit about how this journey started for me, because I came from a really nice family. My parents were like amazing, gentle people, but like right from school age, I started to be like bullied right from like a really young age. And we couldn't understand it. And, my parents didn't have answers because their temperament at home was just very laid back and very gentle. And so it was almost like the universe like showing me like a different side. And it was like a lesson I had to learn like really, really young, was like, and I was bullied all throughout school for my looks, for my name, for, how loud I am. I talk too much, and like physically bullied by both boys and girls. And then growing up into high school, I was still being bullied by both boys and girls. There was even times that I was like bullied with grades by teachers because they didn't like my personality. I remember being called a con artist once in 6th grade because I forgot napkins for our party. So it's things like this that create these spaces within us, okay, where it allows like self doubt to manifest. And what I've learned is that when you are in a place in life where it seems like every road is blocked or everything is like extreme challenges, and it's where you maybe aren't, if you aren't feeling very confident about yourself or trusting like your intuition, or trusting just trusting yourself, because that was another thing that like that kind of taught me to do from a young age, was like not to trust like who I was or what I said, or like second guess myself like in front of people. That kind of turned into like social anxiety and things like this, and it becomes like a vicious cycle where it then just ripples out and affects everything in your life. And so moving forward, again, I have a very loving family and set of parents, but then I went at 20 years old and married a man who was a severe narcissist. And he broke me down on every level. When I met him, I had, I worked and I paid for all my own stuff. That in itself, like I was overly dependent, that was a wound because it was like I was showing the world, like, I don't need you, I can do it. Okay. And so that was like a lack of self love because I wasn't caring for myself. It was like this outside idea of what people thought of me or what I had to prove or demonstrate in the world. Okay. So moving forward, I married a severe narcissist, and on top of it, I'm empathic. So even though I had a tough exterior from the wounds, my nature, my genuine, authentic self, is an empath. And so you could say, people would say, oh, you're too soft, you're too sensitive. That created doubt because I didn't trust myself for my reactions. And that is, if you notice that you withhold or stuff down your reactions or your feelings, your honest reaction, that leads to feelings of resentment for other people, for yourself. That leads to, being explosive, like when you can't hold it in anymore and it just comes out. And the reason that comes out that way is because it's this feeling of like you didn't love yourself in that moment. Okay. Because just by speaking your mind in a compassionate way, okay, in a mindful way where you're not intentionally trying to cause harm to anyone else, that is an act of self-love. Is like being open and honest with, no, I'm sorry, I dislike this, or this excuse me, this won't work for me, or however that is. Boundaries are a big thing. But let me just tell you a little bit of my story and then we're going to move on. So with this narcissistic husband that I married, and like, I mean, severe narcissist. So he broke me down in every way. Financially, he broke me down. He broke down my confidence. He broke down my trust and my faith and my support system around me, and had me convinced that like everybody thought I was this horrible, whatever he made me out to be. Okay. And it literally obliterated like my spirit, my confidence, my finances, my, even the way like my physical body just reacted in the world. He like broke down my immunity. I was sick all the time. And it was just, again, like I spiraled into this lack of self-love. And along with the lack of self-love, I noticed in my outer world, there then was like a lack of like everything else. Okay. And so after we got divorced, I still stayed with him for another, stayed with him divorced in a really toxic, dysfunctional cycle for probably, I think, like 8 years after I had divorced him, or he had divorced me actually, in a really cruel way. And I still was tethered to that because I was in such a position of lack of self-love to begin with that I didn't even realize that I was in. And that's why I ended up in that position, because it was like literally the universe mirroring back to me the energy that I was already in. So, and now this should have been a wake-up call, but when you say should have, when we say that to ourselves, there is no should haves. It went that way in order to show me what self-love actually looks like. And it has been a long journey, like, for me. So I have been on the self-healing journey for like a little over 6 years now. And even when I left, finally cut ties with him, finally, he just did something like so horrific that it left me in a financial like crisis, and he was just didn't uncaring about it, and something in me like snapped, and I like stood up for myself for the first time really in my life, because again, in my childhood, I was never put in that position with my parents or my family. Okay. But in school, there were so many moments when I was supposed to have like stood up for myself, created that boundary. And again, not having that boundary for yourself when people infringe either on your energy, your privacy, your talent, your time, your whatever that is for you, you know, and it may happen in your life in more ways than one, but it does. It's like when you're giving all your energy out like that, whether it's mental energy, financial energy, because remember, it's all energy, folks, your physical energy, spiritual energy, okay? When you're giving that away, it's like giving away like pieces of yourself. And you want to bring the point of this class is to help you bring your energy back to you. And now I'm going to bring up something else. So there is and it's funny because my narcissistic ex-husband used this a lot. You're so selfish, he would say. And like, it would make me give more of myself. And he would just say things like, oh, you're selfish, you don't do anything for anybody. And like, the more he said that, is this like psychological attack, the more I gave and the more depleted I was in life and in myself. And just literally my outer world was like depleted. Like I didn't have any of the, like my friends anymore. Like I felt alienated from my family. My financial position again like was terrible and like whatever. And so I finally stood up for myself. And it was so, I remember it being so terrifying. Like I couldn't believe I was doing it, but it was just, he was trying to like move into the apartment that I had and like take over my apartment and be like, I'm just going to live here with you. And I was like, and after what he did, like to cause this financial crisis, and I was like, oh my God, no, you're not. And I literally was like, I don't care what you do, where you go, whatever, like you are not moving in here. And I was just like starting to like kind of get like a new start in life. And that's kind of what it was, is like he could, I don't know if it was like a narcissistic thing, like he could see that and see that he was kind of losing control over me. And so tried to make this like move like that, and something in me literally just snapped where I put my foot down and I was like, absolutely not. And he called 40 times in one day, which was, there were weeks he wouldn't call me. He had moved out of state on me a number of times and like just never said anything. And so the trauma, it was like PTSD, the trauma that he created in this relationship was just unbelievable. And so I remember that moment. And after I hung up the phone, I literally like cried, and I didn't cry because I was scared. It was like I finally had like stood up for myself. And I just remember feeling so empowered and so proud of myself. And like I reclaimed something back, and it was like because I had like this control, and it wasn't that I was controlling myself, but because I had this power from within. It's crazy. The universe literally started to mirror it back to me. I remember like right after that, and it was like this whirlwind of just different, like meeting different people and creating new friends and new circles. And I had a new job and new opportunities, and I never had a problem with paying rent ever again, like after that, like ever. Like I never had a problem. It just always worked out. And so that wasn't just coincidence. Now, it's said that you become a master when you've put over 10,000 hours into a certain modality or skill or whatever. Well, like I said, over the past a little over now 6 years, I have 100% put over 10,000 hours into self-healing and healing my emotional wounds, physical, mental, spiritual, ancestral wounds that are passed down, that we have no idea that these are passed down to us, but it's like passed down in our DNA, just the same way like heart disease is, or other ailments are passed down in our DNA that we inherit through bloodline. Generational wounds, which another thing that is passed down if your grandma and your mother did something without even thinking about it, and you kind of like are like, that just doesn't seem right. And a lot of that programming where women just overly had to give to the point where they're depleted. Okay, and this masterclass is for everybody, but women definitely, we have been shamed for loving ourselves, and that is the first thing that is usually said, like, oh, you're selfish. And we are naturally the nurturers, okay? But we are usually expected, or we are conditioned and programmed to overgive. Like, yeah, go to work all day, but then come home and like raise your children all night and, cook, clean, and like do whatever else. Okay. And it's not so much like that anymore, but there's still this like double standard like that runs in the world. It's a program. And I saw this, I have to mention this, I saw this with this song from Cardi B. Now, you can like the song, you can hate the song, you can hate her, you can love her, you can whatever. Um, One thing though is, if you love yourself from within, then you probably won't hate her, because that's another way that is reflected back. Is, when you love yourself, you are just supportive of others naturally, and it just comes very naturally when you are filling your own cup and you are in a place of self-love. But I did stand up for her, and I said, like, here she is, like, being proud of her sexuality. That's another thing for women, especially, is our sexuality. And it's not just about sex, it's about how we feel about ourselves. Like, feeling sexy from the inside. Like, I gained weight during like this quarantine and whatever. And, I'm human, so there was a little bit of, I'm like, oh man, but I that's one of the things that recently I've been healing in myself, is loving myself no matter what I look like. Okay? And a few pounds doesn't, it does not make me more or less of a person, or less of a soul, or less magical. Okay? And that I recently did a photo shoot to like empower myself, and I was literally scared to death, but I went and did this pinup photo shoot, and I really just did it as an exercise for myself, and to like literally fall in love with myself. Okay? And falling in love with yourself, and you do it over and over and over again, and it's this beautiful feeling. And the thing is like, I want to teach as many people as possible how to do this. Okay? And the reason you start manifesting abundance in your life is because when you manifest that feeling, that big, beautiful, magnetizing feeling inside of yourself, which I have goosebumps, the hair on my arms is standing up. When you have that within yourself, the universe does this crazy thing where it like holds a mirror up and like shows it right back to you. And abundance comes in so many forms. Okay? It comes in, when you start to love yourself and fill your cup, that abundance comes in happiness and joy and bliss and flow. Like that feeling of flowing in life, where it seems like opportunities just keep coming, and like it's like everywhere you look there's like a sign or a synchronicity, and you're like, oh my god, show me more. And I've like recently been testing this in the universe as well, because everything is energy. And it's like, there were days where I would like, or times in my life where I would try to like force something, like I couldn't find a job, so I would just like start applying for like everything, things I knew that were way below me, and I don't mean below me, but like below like the pay I needed, or the hours that I needed, or the skill level that I had, that's what I'm talking about. Like, so literally I would just apply for everything, trying to force a job to come in when I needed it. And I remember like I'm like, nobody will hire me. There was like this time where like, and I'm like, what is going on? And when you force energy, it's like I use this analogy in like my healing sessions with clients, and that sometimes, well, no, not sometimes, energy works like this. When you try to force anything, whatever it is, whether it's finding that job, or finding that perfect house to buy, or uh, you know, um, forcing that healing or that wound to go away or that trauma to not bother you, or you'll find the universe then like pushes back, because it's almost like this. If you think of like, oh, the only way I can describe it is like a rubber wall. You know what I mean? It's like when you try to force your way through it, it just bounces back and like almost like slaps you back in the face with the same thing but harder. Okay? What self-love does is it like literally frees you, and it like makes you independent and free in that energy to just flow with you and allow you to flow with it, as opposed to you creating force. Okay? When you create force, equal and opposite force then comes back at you. And that is the law of energy. Like, that is like a scientifically proven thing. That is the law of physics. Okay? Like, there is an opposite and equal reaction. Okay? So if you can think of it that way, and it's allowing the energy to just flow around you, and that's not saying do nothing. That's not saying just sit back and everything will just flow into your lap. Like, self-love does take work. Okay, so what do I want to say here? So first off, I want to tell you guys, what does self-love look like? Okay, and let me just scroll down here. I don't know if anybody has asked any questions, but I'm trying to. Okay, let's see. Hi, Nikki. How you doing? Yes, we'll absolutely talk. I was just thinking about you yesterday, and all my love to you, sweetheart. I was literally going to message you yesterday, but then I fell asleep. So, okay, so let me just get to this really quickly. Okay, and I'm going to answer questions at the end if you guys have questions about things or whatever. And I'm literally just doing this because I really do. I just want everybody to have these available, because it's when you put it into like your daily practice, then things just automatically flow easier, because you're not pushing. Power comes from allowing, and it comes from within. It doesn't come from forcing. Okay, power comes from creating. Okay, and the way to step into that creation energy, all right, is it's about putting yourself in that place. It's not just about positive thinking or affirmations. Okay, those aren't the tools I'm going to give you either. All right, because it's self-love isn't just about like talking nicely to yourself, although that's a very large part of it. That's not all it is, though. Okay, it's not repeating mantras. It isn't. There's a lot that goes into it, and I would like for you guys to at least have a little like drop in the bucket as far as like using tools in order to create the abundance in your life, because that's what flow is. When I speak of flow, that's what it is. It's abundance. Abundance in happiness, abundance that when challenges do arise, because life is full of challenges. It will always be full of challenges. But when you're coming from a place of self-love and your cup is full and you are fulfilled, okay, you naturally stay and remain cognizant and happier of that in stressful situations. You find solutions a lot easier. You are more open to opportunity for the solution, or for the to allow the occurrence to happen, because you're open to it. Okay, if you can get a new job, you can get that new job that you absolutely love, but if like you have feelings of insecurity and doubt and low boundaries and whatever, chances are that that amazing new job that you just got is going to turn out to be maybe not so amazing, because maybe you're being taken advantage of. Maybe you find yourself saying I'm sorry, or trying to dim yourself so you don't offend anybody, or so you don't step on anyone's toes. Okay, and then that comes inward, and then that manifests feelings of doubt, insecurity, being unfulfilled, being resentful. Okay, when you're in self-love, those types of things come up a lot less, because you are creating that boundary. So that leads me to my first thing. What does self-love really look like? Self-love looks like boundaries. Okay? And again, it's not being forceful. It's about just remaining authentic and genuine to yourself. Like, hey, like I appreciate what you're trying to convey, what you're trying to get across, friend or coworker or whatever, but I would appreciate it if when we talk about this, you could not be condescending. You are kind of being condescending. Or you are, like, I understand that you don't agree with my idea, but can you explain why you don't find it valuable? Okay. And that works with families, partners, friends, that works with everything. It's just creating very straightforward and very compassionate and full of good intention. Like your intention is good. It's not to hurt, it's to create a loving boundary for yourself. Okay. And so that's okay, and that's a good thing. So self-love looks like creating boundaries. It looks like saying no sometimes. Come on, let's go out, let's go out. No, I had a really crazy week. And maybe you have that friend who just is like, no, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Or that partner who does that, or whatever it is. And in the past, maybe you're coerced or convinced to go, and then you're there and you're like, I really wish I was home, or I really wish I was doing X, Y, and Z, or whatever it is. It's okay to say no. It doesn't matter what you want to do. If you want to stay home and sleep, or stay home and wash your hair, or whatever you want to do. But even if you want to stay home and like clean the house, you know what I mean? Like or you want to go watch a movie by yourself. Maybe you just want to be quiet that day or something, and you don't want to be in a club. You don't want to. So it's just about taking these things as they resonate and applying them in different areas of your life. Self-love looks like self-care. Okay, self-care. What is self-care? Self-care is, creating nice environment and space for yourself. So I'm going to use myself as an example, because when I tell you my story, I'm not telling you a story out of nowhere. I'm telling you the story because these are the things that I began to use on my journey of self-love. And one of the ways that I didn't love myself was when it came to like cooking dinner for myself. And I would say, well, it's just me, so I don't want to cook or whatever, because for a long time, I held that thing that if I'm not living, and that's probably what kept me with my ex-husband for a long time, but like if I didn't have that significant other, even if it was bad, and I lived alone, then somehow I was a failure, and like somehow on some level I like wouldn't cook for myself. Okay. And so I didn't consciously think of it that way, but through my healing process and this journey of 6+ years, I have learned that is a wound. Okay. And it was a wound that if you had asked me, I would have been like, no, what are you, crazy? I love myself. I honestly, and I would have believed it when I said it. And I did believe it when I said it. But then when I turn back and I look, and I am now going through and like healing these things, and it's not like I'm going through like these things as a Rolodex, because I don't know. Your subconscious holds and stores these things, and they come up as they come up. And they come up for everybody in different ways. And if you're not aware, it comes up as anger or frustration or feeling blocked or feeling challenged. It comes up as having the same, type of argument come up with different people, or the same type of behavior that unsettles you or you're not comfortable with come up in different people in different situations, like over and over and over again. Okay. And that's how you know that like maybe there are things that may need to be looked at. So self-care, like cooking for yourself is one. Cooking like a nice meal, like whatever. Even if you want to cook up like pizza and wings for yourself at home, it's just about taking that time for yourself. It's treating yourself as you would treat others. So when you have that compassion for everybody else, and then you get home and you're like, well, I'm not going to cook because it's just me, or you know what, you are worth it. And the more you do that type of stuff for yourself, the it's like the more your worth increases, because our worth is not determined by what others put in us, or by what we wear or what we drive. Our worth comes from feeling that way. Okay, and so if you treat yourself, and again, I'm just going to use this word because it's usually mostly feminines that I have here, but if I do get any men on here, it's about living in that goddess and God's energy. Okay, and it's about treating yourself as such. Okay, and we are very powerful energetic beings, but with programming and wounding and things like this, we've been taken away from that energy of treating ourselves as like something special, goddesses and gods, and that's within every single one of us. Okay, that self-love is like that power from within, and that's why I kind of applauded like Cardi B, because she was like took her power back. And I mean, people were commenting things like, oh, well, she did this, that, and whatever. And, well, right, but maybe she's in a different place now. Okay. And then the other thing about that is I had somebody mention, well, she didn't want to be objectified. Right. She's taking the power away from other people and giving it to herself. If she's objectifying herself, whether it's, I agree with it or don't, I see what is happening there. She's stepping into her power, her goddess power. If that's what makes her feel powerful, and she's not victimizing anybody, she's not hurting anybody, like with expressing this, she is stepping into her own power. And again, this, I don't want it to be a discussion about that. It's just one of those things that I'm throwing out there is, especially for women, self-love is extremely important. For me, I do like spiritual baths. That's one of my favorite things to do. Baths in general, I just find water very cleansing, very nurturing, and very healing, especially if you have an empathic quality about you. Water will cleanse your energy, and if you add sea salt to it, even better. You can add baking soda to cleanse your energy as well. But step into that goddess energy and add things like flowers and essential oils and light candles. And it seems like such a simple cliche thing, and maybe it is, but from my experience, that was one of the tools that I used to engage with myself, center myself, and show myself that I was like worth it to have this. Maybe you want to indulge on bath products for yourself, because like maybe that's your thing. Well, then you do that because you're worth it. Okay, one thing that came up for me, like, kind of right in the beginning of, like, quarantine is I, like, went shopping, and I went to, like, Wegmans, which I usually go to, like, a few other places, like, but I happened to go to Wegmans, and Wegmans I never went to in the past because financially I wanted to, spread my money, make it go further or whatever in the past. Well, I went to Wegmans, and I walked out, and I thought to myself, I actually thought that, wow, oh my God, I just spent so much money on like organic food. And I literally had to like shake myself and be like, Psh, Kara, you are worth good food, like good, healthy ingredients. You are worth non-GMO, and you are worth that. Like, but that is like a wounding most likely that came up from like, I would say generational, because my grandparents grew up during the Depression. And so unconsciously, this program is passed down unconsciously and unintentionally. Most of the time, it's unconscious and unintentional. And that can be good programming and negative programming, okay? But my grandparents grew up, like, lived through the Depression. So there was this thing where, like, you save, you hold on to stuff. You save, you grasp, you cling. And what I found is that energy is what was a huge block for me. That's where I really learned what energy really works like, because it's like when I let go of the things that I was like afraid of losing, the opposite happened. And that it was a phenomenon. That's the only way I can explain it. It was actually a phenomenon. Okay? Meditation is one. And okay, so if you look in the comments on this video, I did share, this meditation I created this like a few months ago, and I shared this one in particular. I do have other ones available, and I'm going to do, I think, more of these master classes. So I'll share different resources and tools and things like that. But this one in particular, I shared because when I did it, this had been like a thing of mine for like a while then, and it was a tool that helped me over the last 6 years in ways that like literally blow my mind. When you meditate, it what it does is it strengthens. There's like a, a cortex that joins your two hemispheres of your brain, and it actually strengthens this cortex like a muscle. In your brain, the two sides begin to function like together. It's not like left hemisphere, right hemisphere. Okay, it's like a functioning where it literally starts to like function as like one whole thing. Okay, and we typically don't think of our brains as split like that, but we do. We have like our like reptile brain, we have our monkey brain, and then we have, you know, our conscious brain. Okay, and so when you can get all of these three parts and both hemispheres like flowing together, you will be amazed again at like how you see opportunity in maybe an adverse situation. Uh, it seems like opportunities will like literally like flow to you. It's like the answers will literally be come across easier. Um, the challenges are still challenges, but they seem to melt away faster, and your reaction to them is like 100% different. You're like able to look at it in so many larger ways, and it's like really literally, it's like taking a hot air balloon above like a dense forest. You're like, wow, wow. Well, when I look at it from up here, it seems so much easier to get through. Okay, and that's why I recommend this meditation. So this meditation in particular was my very first one. I was extremely nervous when I did it, but after I did it, I was like, oh my gosh, that is my next point, is self-love, is allowing yourself to engage in challenges. Challenges, when I say challenges, I mean challenges that are like an adventure to you. Okay? Where you've wanted to do something, or you've wanted to say something to somebody, or you've wanted to focus your attention on something or something new or revamp something, and you've been thinking about it for a really long time. But if you have this feeling of, well, what if it fails? What if it's like this self-doubt, then you might be lacking in the self-love. And it's not that when you're in a state of self-love that you don't ever question something or maybe go, I'm not sure. What being in self-love does is it just manifests more self-confidence, more trust of yourself, more of an optimistic, and it's not like, again, it's just not an optimistic attitude, but it's that feeling of flow. Like, you know what, like I'm just going to like take it as it is, and like whatever it is, and like being able to take something from it, no matter what that experience is. When we're in an energy of no self-love, then everything, it's like it seems harder. Okay, it actually becomes harder, because if you're in this place of doubting and not being sure of yourself, or not trusting yourself even when you're unsure, okay, or staying comfortable just because it's comfortable, all right, these are things that will like it makes your world smaller. It makes the feeling of being in lack larger, and it makes the feeling of abundance a lot smaller, because there is less abundance, because it's like closing down, it's like shutting the lid on a pot, right? What self-love does is it allows you to expand. It allows your energy field actually to expand. Like, and this has been like scientifically measured, where your frequency, or your waves, like your delta and your theta waves, okay, can actually be measured at a farther distance outside of your body than when you are in a state of self-doubt or lack, okay? This abundant energy, again, it becomes like a magnet in the universe, and that is the way energy works. It's like you have an equal reaction. So it's like where you become flowing and abundant, right? It's like it's like drawn like this. It's like things are drawn to you, and it works both ways. If you're in a self-doubt or, low vibrational mindset, then it does that same thing. It attracts low vibrational situations, low vibrational people, low vibrational, incidents and experiences into your world. But when you are on the other spectrum of that, and you are in the state of self-love and flow and expansion and abundance, guess literally what comes naturally is the flow and abundance. Okay. Okay, hold on. I'm just looking at my notes here, guys. I just want to make sure I don't forget anything. I am going to do more of these. Let's see. Oh, okay. No, I did mention that. Living the truth. Okay. And so I just want to, oh, Sarah, you're so welcome. Absolutely. Okay, one last thing I do want to mention for what does self-love look like? Because it's not just all like la-di-da-di-da-di-da, yay. Sometimes it's harsh. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it's scrambly. Okay? Because there's this programming that self-love is supposed to be like perfect and amazing and always full of light and always full of, like I said, life is always life. Life is never perfect. Life is never without challenge or without hardship, okay? Or without lessons, okay? Self-love is admitting when you feel like you've let yourself down, okay? That is self-love. Like, wow, I really like phoned it in there. I dimmed my light at that job. I let people overstep their boundaries with me. That is self-love. Like, I deserve better. I'm worth more than to allow that next time. And you can't change anybody else, but you change your boundary and your energetic field, right? That part you're responsible for. So when you change that energetic field and that boundary, and there's, you do it with words, with your energy, with your actions, okay? And self-love is also, it's messy because it's admitting to yourself when you've let yourself down. But it's also resolving the issue with finding a solution within yourself. Okay? Excuse me. Now, that's not to say that you have to do the solution could be asking somebody for help. The solution could be Googling something, in order to find yourself a resource. Okay? The solution could be removing yourself from the situation entirely. Okay? And it's not about beating yourself up. It's not like I always say there's no room for shoulding on yourself. I should have done this. I should have done that. Don't should all over yourself. What I can do, what I will do. Okay? And these are tools that have worked for me because psychologically your brain will literally follow your heart. Like, so if you feel like I can do this, I will do this. Okay? Your brain's like, it's like the dog following a friggin', what do they call them? Somebody help me. What are they? Sausages, okay? It's like a dog following somebody with sausages in their hands. It's when your heart feels it, your brain's like, oh, okay, do, and like literally will follow like that doggy following a treat. I kid you not. That's how it works. And I'm sharing this with you guys because I have spent over 10,000 hours in the discipline of healing. Healing myself first, and then healing others, and then realizing that I continually heal myself through healing others. And that's pretty fucking amazing. And I'm grateful. And each time I get to do that, I get like more grateful. And like my brain then follows. And then my brain is like, oh my God. And again, the challenges that arise, it's not to say that I don't ever have hard stuff. I do just as much as anybody. I have illness and family and, you know, uh, financial things that go on and things with the car and things with just 2020. Oh my God. Okay. I have days when my energy is really low and I'm like real energy sensitive. So like I pick up on other people's energy and I had to learn how to harness and like clear that and differentiate. That's another part of self-love is like differentiating my energetic field from somebody else's, because that's another wound that comes from, excuse me, usually generational things. Like it's called like enmeshment. So like if one person in the household is angry, then everybody's like upset or walking on eggshells, or and it's like you're living in their energy, okay? So that's another part of boundaries, and why like that self-care is really extremely important. Self-care could be like driving to the park, going to sit in the grass, and literally I've been doing a lot of research on this, but it's called grounding. I mean, geez. And I am looking into this, and I mean, duh, we as humans, we forget where we came from, and our connection with the earth is literally blocked by the shoes we wear, we hardly ever have contact with the actual pure ground. Okay? Like barefoot, sitting in the ground. There is a reason that there is that cliche, like, oh, go hug a tree. There is really a reason for it. And earth is like a big, gigantic, energetic battery. All right? We are small versions of that. That's why we have an energetic field, just like the earth does. And we actually get recharged through the earth. So if that's your self-care, do that. You don't have to meditate. I made that meditation because it was only 5 minutes. It's really simple, really easy to do. It's not long enough where you fall asleep, you know. You can listen to it in the park, sitting on the grass under a tree, okay? Go swim in, you know, go to the beach. I go to the beach all the time. Even if it's just taking a walk around and like looking at shops or something, if that relaxes you and chills you out, you know. I don't recommend like financial, like, you know, shopping therapy, because there's, within reason, when it's healthy, it's okay to do that. You know, if it's, I've had the same laptop for 7 years. I really would like a new laptop. Go buy the laptop. Go buy the laptop. You know what I mean? Again, not at your detriment, not at your depletion, but you go buy it because guess what? When you try to hold on to that money, like, well, if I spend it, then I won't have it. Do you know what? The universe actually matches that frequency and it mirrors it back to you. So when you start to just be like, you know what? It's all good. I got it. I'll get it. No big deal. It'll come back. That's the thing. It has to be, money is just energy. Our attachment to it, whether it's positive or negative, that's the energy we put behind it is the energy that it has in our life. So if you put positive energy in, again, begin to step into the heart space of it, your brain literally follows it like a doggy with a treat. Okay? Self-care can look like admitting when a relationship with a situation, person, or place is toxic to you. That's a big one. That's one I just really finally just learned wholeheartedly, really learned it. I had it in so many different examples that the universe was trying to show me, and I kept getting like better. But I still, because I had been conditioned and programmed for so long, all right, that it really took a lot in a lot of different ways for me to get there. But the amount of growth that I received from it, and when I finally did realize like that was a part of self-love. Okay. Because when I talk about loving unconditionally, that includes ourselves first. We're first, okay? So, and then, oh, a couple last things. Not trying to fix somebody or something else. You can't fix things for people. They can only find the solution from within themselves. And then forgiving yourself for not knowing. Okay? Forgive yourself. Like, well, you know what? I didn't know it at the time. You only know what you know. And you don't know what you don't know. So that's part of self-love is like, you know what? Well, wherever, that's why there's no shoulds here. Because wherever I was 6 years ago, like, yes, I allowed it to happen, but I I had to, it had to go that way in order for me to even look at it this way and be able to share it with you guys. Okay? So, all right. I kind of went a little longer about that than I wanted to. But if you guys have any questions, oh, happy birthday, Nicole. Oh my God. It's beautiful. Oh, yeah, Nicole, I know. We'll talk. And Sarah, you're so welcome. Thank you for joining. I really appreciate you guys. To anybody else, if you think that this is valuable to anyone else, please share it. Um, and the thing is if you guys have any questions about like meditation or other ways to incorporate means of loving yourself into your life, I would love to answer if you guys have any questions. Um, but yeah, yeah. And how are you guys doing today? Like, I don't know. I'm just waiting to see if you guys are typing. Are you typing? Sometimes this is slow. Um, all right. Well, anyways, let me just tell you guys. Oh, this is exciting. I will share this with you guys. Um, and then I'm going to go if nobody has any questions. My brother's flying in from Arizona today, so I'm extremely excited to see him. But anyways, so I don't know if you guys know, but I am certified. I'm sorry, I'm an ordained spiritual minister, and I'm also a certified Ho'oponopono practitioner. And that is an energy healing technique. I can do it in person and remote. I do offer inner child healing sessions, as well as adolescent healing sessions, which includes healing traumas that may have occurred within that time. And I'm actually just started training and studying in a new healing modality. So I'll tell you guys a little bit more about that as I progress. But that's really exciting, and I've like I've already tried a few of the techniques on myself, and I'm like literally like loving this. Like I was literally like energized, like electrified, like my body like instantly like was hot. It was amazing. And afterward I felt like I don't know, like I can't explain it. Like completely opened, like within, like I don't know how to explain it. It's like well, I know how to explain it. It's like your energy channels are completely open and completely free. And so, again, I'll talk more about that next time. But if you guys don't have any more questions, I'm going to get going. I love you guys so much. Really, you guys, my heart is so full for you guys. I really do. I hold space for all of you and all of your healing journeys. And I do offer like spiritual, like coaching and mentoring as well as other healing modalities and stuff like that. And oh, I'm working on my website. It should be published hopefully next week. goddessTogoodness.com. You can find some of my spiritual products on Etsy and my bath and body products on Etsy. And yeah, I love that you guys took the time for yourself to listen to this today, because this wasn't for me. This was for you. I really love you guys, and yeah, namaste. Take care.